like collecting reviews is a business practice.
For sure.
So if you have reviews, it means you are running your business like a business. Okay,
Yeah.
I will send it.
Because I do think some agents treat an agent-to-agent referral like mailbox money, right?
Yeah.
Like, all I did was make a phone call and now I'm going to get 25% of your hard work.
You're asking yourself, am I serving myself to get paid, or am I serving the best interest of my client?
Hi, Alissa.
Hey, Katy.
Welcome to episode number 268, Agent-to-Agent Referrals.
I can't believe we've never talked about
I
this.
was going to say exactly the same thing. How have we not specifically discussed this?
I know.
Whenever people start talking about income streams, this is a legitimate, I guess, thing that they list out. But
Yeah.
I have so many questions for you about how this logistically works.
Why for me?
Well, you've gotten a lot of agent-to-agent referrals.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've gotten about...
You're more client referrals.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I went back and looked through my, 19 years of transactions, and I had 10 to 12-ish
Okay.
agent-to-agent referrals.
Yeah.
There was no big rhyme or reason. A couple of them I got because I was at REMA. We'll get into where you get them.
Okay.
But I don't have like this huge track record of agent-to-agent referrals.
Yeah.
Do you have a good bit?
I do. And I did some research before we recorded.
All right, before we get all your information, tell the listeners, what is an agent-to-agent referral? What are they? How do they work?
When you hear of someone purchasing or selling real estate in a market that you don't feel comfortable in, you are not licensed in, you find an agent in that marketplace and you refer it.
Yes.
You call that agent, you say, hey, I have a friend, client, whatever, and this is what they're looking for. Can you help? They say, sure. You say, great. Would you be okay with a X% referral fee? You come to an agreement and then y'all sign.
Okay, you sign a referral form.
Yeah, you
Step
sign
one.
Step one.
Well, step one is you know someone who needs an agent in a market that you don't serve.
Correct.
Okay. Step two is you go and research agents in the market they need.
Yes.
Okay. You can find someone by a bunch of different ways. We'll tell you that in a minute. But step two is find an agent and make sure that they're good, right?
Yes,
So
that's the biggest thing.
you got to vet them. That's because this is really your biggest function of the agent-to-agent referral. It's vetting the agent you're sending your person to.
Right.
How do you vet your referrals?
Before I had Hustle Humbly Community, because I've been using that so much. Before that, it just sort of depended on the area. Like, so I've always been with a bigger company. So my first question is like, do we have an office there?
Yeah.
If we do, I usually call the manager of that office and say, hey, this is Alissa from the Baton Rouge market. I have a first-time home buyer who is really good with first-time home buyers. Like, I want to make sure it's a good fit.
Right.
Then, if it's not an office I can call, I'll just research agents in that marketplace either on Google, but then I go look at their Instagram and see, are they like my vibe or not?
Right. Because you're basically looking for someone to act as if you would.
Correct.
In the transaction.
Yeah. And that's why, like, if your profile didn't look to be like I would want it to look, that's not a problem.
Right.
Like, because your vibe will attract your tribe.
Right.
I'm just looking for someone to match this specific client.
That makes sense.
So don't feel like you have to go,
mimic some other agent.
No.
No.
But it needs to be professional-ish and friendly and positive,
Okay. Do you want me to tell you the way I would always... Once I decided how I was looking, which we'll get into this in a minute.
Hey there, are you looking for ways to save time and money in your business?
Email Templates 101 is the communication system you need to bring ease and efficiency to managing your transactions and clients.
Save time and avoid mistakes, all while providing a high level of service for your buyers and sellers.
In Email Templates 101, you'll get 13 downloadable buyer templates ready for your personal touches.
And 19 downloadable seller templates, plus 6 attachment checklist.
Head over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/courses to get yours today. let's just say I was at Remax and I was going to pick a Remax agent. Then I would do a time trial. So I would send an email and make a phone call and see how long it took for responses.
Oh.
And I would do it to like 2 or 3 people at a time, typically, just to like get a feel. Because I'm like, the most important thing is that you're responsive.
Yeah.
And that you like, do you read your email? Do you answer your phone? This is the only way for me to know.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do a test.
Yeah. I also like to look at if they have reviews.
Yeah.
Like, how many reviews do you have? I feel like collecting reviews is a business practice.
For sure.
So if you have reviews, it means you are running your business like a business.
Good
to
point.
A certain extent.
For sure.
Because you could certainly be a successful agent who has 0
no
reviews because you never asked or had a place. But
Right.
I find them helpful in the aspect of trying to find someone that I'm sending a referral to because I don't know you otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. So that was step 2. We found the agent. Step 3 is you get the agent to agree to whatever your terms are and you send the referral form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The referral form is something that your office gives you that will say, here's my client's information. Here's my information and how you're going to pay me. Right.
Yeah.
And then the agent has to sign off. And it's going to be, is it a percentage of the commission that they earn? Is it a flat fee? Like you're basically coming to terms on what the referral is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then you're going to have to provide for them now or at some point the W-9 for your office. Like, how do they literally pay your office? And you're going to get asked this at the end once they get their check if you didn't provide it with the form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's some form stuff you have to do. Then they're going to do their transaction. Yeah. How much do you check in?
I don't. But that doesn't mean you definitely don't want to micromanage.
No.
But I do think it's helpful. So I just sent a referral to a good agent friend of mine in Lake Charles.
Okay.
It ended up being like, at no fault of the agent, just a little bit of a tumultuous transaction. The client was an attorney dealing with a builder. The agent is trying to keep the peace. And she did call me a few times and was like, and I hadn't heard from my buyer, but she called me and said, hey, everything's going fine, but just in case you're hearing anything otherwise, I wanted to just let you know that
what the situation.
This is how it's going. I do have it handled. And I just appreciated that because she was like, I don't want you to think I'm not doing a good job.
Right.
And so they made it to the closing table successfully. And to me, the times in my personal transactions where I have felt like I provided the most value is when we were overcoming a problem.
Yeah.
So she was nervous that was going to bother me, that there was a problem in the transaction. I said, no, I trust you to handle it.
Yeah.
And she did. But I appreciated her just giving me a heads up. Like, hey, this happened.
Right.
We're working through it just in case you hear anything.
And where you don't need to micromanage the transaction, you do need to check in at some point and be like, hey, are they under contract?
Yeah.
Hey, when is the closing? Because at no fault of their own, agents who are busy may forget that it was a referral.
That would be me.
Yeah, right? So you're like, oh, shoot, I got to pay somebody else. So if you sent the referral and you're wanting to get paid.
Oh, I've never forgotten to pay a referral.
Right. But to get paid?
Yeah, to get paid.
Yeah, like you got to follow.
I wonder if that person ever bought anything 3 years ago.
Okay, so early on in my career, there was an agent in New Orleans. So our markets are about an hour apart, right? Like they're not in our MLS. I would not go work in New Orleans. There are agents that do both. That's just not, I'm not familiar with that market and I think it's too far away. So there was an agent in New Orleans who sent me a referral. It was another Remax agent. And it was pretty early in my career. It was for a client of his that needed to rent out something. So I'm like, sure, I'll take a rental referral, whatever. Well, I guess he liked me. He had one other agent in Baton Rouge, but he was constantly sending people to me to work on. And now I say that, very few of them closed.
Okay.
I think one sale and several rentals. But I was just like, y'all, I think the first one was maybe in 2009. So it's been a lot of years that this guy has been sending referrals. Just last night, he texted me to try and help one of his friends with a son who needed a rental. I'm like, love you and I appreciate you. This is not my specialty and I don't even know how to help with the question that you're asking me, but I always try to point him in the right direction.
Sure.
But he was so good though at follow-up, not micromanaging me. Hey, a year ago I sent you so-and-so. What happened with that? I'd be like, we talked once and they flaked. Like,
yeah.
I mean, this is where we were at but he would always follow up on his referrals. I'm like, dang, he's really good at
referring out
and following up.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. But I would say getting a partner in another market that does send a lot of back and forth is probably a good idea.
Yeah. And you said something I think is worth discussing as well. You know, we do talk a lot about mindset, and there is that scarcity mindset. I must make money. I must have business. You said you did not want to go to New Orleans. One, it's too far. When would you refer something out? I think people think, oh, well, it's across the country. New Orleans is an hour from us.
I referred out $1 million in business in New Orleans a couple of years ago.
I would too.
I would happily have wanted $1 million in sales.
Yeah, but that would be an unwise business decision. Not only did you say it's too far, more importantly, you said not familiar.
Yeah, I need to be an expert.
New Orleans is a historic city. There is different types of plumbing. There is different types of flood insurance. There is different type of homeowners insurance. These houses are older than anything we have here in Baton Rouge. And if you don't know what you need to look for specifically in that market, you probably are not serving the best interest of your client. But I see, as our state has started merging MLSs, we are seeing a lot of crossover.
Right.
And I would say 60% of the time, it's very messy.
Very messy.
And I do think it can hurt your reputation as an agent.
Yes.
If you are trying to impose yourself in a market where maybe you don't belong.
Yeah.
Maybe your lockbox key doesn't work in that market and you're at the mercy of another agent opening the door every time you need to go.
Yeah.
Some of our documents don't transfer over, so they're at the mercy of the other agent running comps, doing the disclosures. Like, if that's the case, you're asking yourself, am I serving myself to get paid, or am I serving the best interest of my client?
Right.
And if it is a market that you don't live close to and you're not familiar with it, I just don't think you can answer that question honestly about that. I used to use a home inspector my first few years. I really liked him. But my last few times I used him, it was like he was causing more problems, and I was trying to understand where he was coming from. Well, the problem is that he services New Orleans and Baton Rouge as a home inspector.
Okay.
And he was trying to bring in certain inspections that are customary in New Orleans to Baton Rouge, but it doesn't apply here.
Right.
But it was making my clients nervous.
Like, do I need to do this?
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. I'm like,
nobody does?
Nobody does. We just don't do that here because that's not our system, our underground system. So I had to stop using him. And I think it's similar to an agent. Like, well, did your agent get this inspection when they helped you buy this New Orleans home? Like, well, no, I guess you didn't know that it was
customary,
pretty necessary, and that's what all the New Orleans agents do.
Right.
So don't be afraid to send those referrals and form those relationships. I think sometimes agents can get so focused on the total check. But what if you referred that one? And because you referred that one and got a referral fee, now that agent is sending you business here.
That's what I was about to say. It'll flow back and forth.
Yes.
Right? Like, hey, you're there. I'm here. How can we partner together?
Yeah.
And it be a win for both.
I also have a commercial agent that we do this with. He's in the Baton Rouge market. He actually just helped Tanner do like a 10-year lease on his office building. And he refers me his Baton Rouge residential, and I refer him my Baton Rouge commercial.
Yeah, I have a commercial agent as well. That was on my list. Of my very small handful of referrals, I had one local commercial agent that was like, hey, can you take care of these residential people for me? And I would obviously pay him a referral fee. Can we talk about the fee a little bit before we get into where you get these referrals? it seems like the industry standard is 25%. What else have you seen in that range? What would you say is what you would charge? Does it depend on the situation?
I usually charge 20.
Okay.
Now, I just referred a dear client of mine to one of my friends in St. Francisville.
Okay.
St. Francisville is about an hour from me, opposite direction of New Orleans. But it was like a $90,000, $80,000 condo, and it was an hour for me. I go to St. Francisville. I have helped people buy and sell in St. Francisville.
Right.
The time that he asked me to go look at it was the kids were going back to school. I was looking at my calendar going, I just don't know when I'm going to have basically 3 hours. An hour there, do the showing, an hour back, go back for the home inspection. At that time, I thought, I cannot serve this client well. And I said, listen, would you mind if I referred you to my office mate who lives, born and raised in St. Francisville? He was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. I sent him to her. He bought the condo. She messaged me and was like, hey, you never sent me a referral form. Like, what do I owe you? And I was like, it was so small and like, you just, thank you. Thank you for taking good care of him. I'm not collecting anything. I don't know. I know that I have certainly seen agents that are sticklers on the referral fee.
Right. And like, if you won't take their fee, they'll go find another agent that will.
Yeah. And I just, and when they're checking in on the transaction, it's not, the way that they're asking is not that they're checking in on the transaction. It's they're checking in on their paycheck.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I will send it.
Because I do think some agents treat an agent-to-agent referral like mailbox money, right?
Yeah.
Like, all I did was make a phone call and now I'm going to get 25% of your hard work.
And to me, I know it's the norm. 25% is a lot.
It seems like a lot.
When someone sends me a referral, it is usually followed up with a referral form that says 25%. I sign it and I do my job.
Right.
I don't nickel and dime.
Right.
When I send a referral, if it's, depending, I do 20%.
Right.
I just do.
I've done 25, but when the check shows up, I have a little feeling of like,
I didn't really work for this.
I feel like I stole.
I know.
Like it's a big number.
That's just because we're hard workers.
Yeah. And
we like to work for our money.
That's so true.
So it's actually hard for us to just get mailbox money because we work hard.
Yeah.
I also think I know how hard real estate is.
Yeah.
And so I know how hard, especially I had one time, I sent a referral out. It was a listing. It took a long time. I didn't follow up constantly, but like I had it on my little board. So I was aware. But one day I get a check and I'm like, what is this address? I do not recognize this address. So I called our accounting department.
You're like, this is incorrect.
And I was like, hey, I just got a check for this address. I was not involved in this address and it's not. She was like, oh, it was actually a referral from so-and-so. And I went, oh, it finally closed. That took forever.
Oh, wow.
Like, they should not have sent me anything because
that must have been really hard.
That was a pain in the butt. And I didn't,
Right.
But I just wrote her a thank you note.
I know. And look, if someone sent me a referral, I happily send them whatever they ask for, right?
I won't go over 25.
I guess like it goes.
I've had a few push for 30 and I'm like, what?
Yeah. And then I've also had, especially when I was at Remax, like agents in like, let's just say the Gulf Coast or somewhere that's like a second home market, they would send like out these promotional emails that were like, hey, I'm in such and such a market. We know a lot of people move from Baton Rouge or buy a second home from Baton Rouge in my area, whatever, Orange Beach, whatever. And I'm only charging 15 or like I'm giving a 30% referral or I'm giving like they're trying to entice you to send them the referrals. They're working that business model. Which makes sense.
Especially in a vacation area or a second home area.
Yeah. And then that's what I want to talk about too. If you're in a town where there's not a lot of people moving in or out, this may not be the type of business you want to spend a lot of time focusing on.
Correct.
But here, I would say there are some places where people in Baton Rouge might move out to or into on a regular basis?
I think this is the perfect time for me to talk about how my referral journey began.
Please, let's hear it.
So I started real estate in 2011. I was 22 years old. I had just finished LSU. I lived in a lot of apartment complexes in LSU. Like every time my lease ended, we were switching around. And then all my friends, all that to say, I was very familiar with LSU condos. By 2014 or 15, I had made our company's top of the ladder.
Okay.
That is the top 30 in our company. Right. So every year they do like a big luncheon and then they do a trip. And so what I learned is that top 30 is like the same people. Mm-hmm. So when I came as a 20-something-year-old, I was the only person under the age of 50.
Right. Like they're like, wow.
I was also probably one of the only ones that got there by selling like 60 homes because their price points were so much higher that they were selling like 20 to 30 homes and hitting the same volume.
Right.
So just a very different, and I could tell it was kind of like, how'd she get here?
What is this girl doing?
Yeah, like she's a first timer. We'll probably never see her again. But through the things that the company did, I formed relationships. And then we get like a brochure of the top of the ladder and what market they're in with their headshot. So after the first trip, I hand wrote 29 letters to each agent.
Of course you did.
And I just said, hey, it was so great to meet you on the trip. If you ever have anybody looking to buy a home for their child coming to LSU, that's pretty much my area of expertise. I have lived in several of them. I have been in the majority of them. I would be happy to help. Immediately, I was getting calls from all different markets. And these people were like paying cash. Like, hey, so-and-so told me that you could help me find a place. I'm paying cash up to $250 or something. And I was like, what? Wow, this is amazing. Like these people knew people.
I love that you really niched down though when you requested those referrals. You're like, this is what I'm good at.
So there were some other Baton Rouge agents that make top of the ladder.
Yeah.
That do the luxury price point. I was not dumb enough as a 20-year-old to think the top producer of New Orleans is going to send me $1 million referral.
Right.
Like
this is genius, actually.
I look like I'm 16.
Yeah, send me your kids.
Yeah.
You got any college kids?
I know that you're not going to do that, okay? But here's what's funny. I have made top of the ladder every year since 2015.
That's amazing.
So every year, plus or minus like 6 or 7 people, it's the same group. Like the top 15 are the same. Yeah. Okay. So I have formed relationships. Right. I've grown up with these people.
You really have.
And they're like, she's here every year. Yeah. She's like actually doing it. And then I started like volunteering to do webinars for our office for free. And then people were messaging me like, hey, you're in Baton Rouge. Can I send you this referral? So being a part of a larger brokerage definitely got me started on that journey, which is why I think as a new agent, just asking like, what opportunities do I have?
Yeah.
So, but the evolution of it is that I kept writing these letters, and by like 2019, 2020, I was like, what? I was still writing the same letter about LSU condos.
No.
And I'm like, I'm
like,
feeling
it's time to cross over.
I've kind of outgrown this. Yeah. Like I'm actually sort of burnt out from doing all these. So I just took that part out and changed the verbiage to be like, I'm in Baton Rouge. I always love hanging out with you. I love, being a top producer like you. I know what it takes. So, and then it was like, I still get parents who are fine, but it's nice that it's not all that.
Only that.
I'm getting some higher end listings, and now that it's 2024, I'm getting some really nice referrals.
Yeah.
Like high end, expensive. Great, and they're great clients because they were told to call me.
Right.
They trust me because they trust that person. So it was just neat to see how year one, they trusted me with the $90,000 LSU condo.
Right.
By year 5, they're sending me like, some regular referrals outside of LSU. By year 10, they're sending me like high end.
But you have a long-term relationship with these agents.
Yeah. And it's because I write letters. I also have a realtor section in my database.
Yeah.
They get my Christmas card. Not if they're in Baton Rouge. Not if they're in Baton Rouge, but they also get my LSU magnets. Like, I'm not going to send my LSU magnet to you.
No.
But I'll send it to the New Orleans agents. Okay, well, I'll bring you one.
Okay, thanks.
New Orleans agents, Mandeville agents outside of, just for fun, just to see it. It's like I have extra.
Yeah.
So doing that.
You're maintaining those people just like a regular database member.
Yes. They're not getting, I'm trying to think. They're getting LSU magnets. They're getting Christmas cards. That's really the only two big bailouts I do. They're getting the thank you letter for referral. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're separate then. I guess just for my brain.
But they don't need to be. I guess if you had something
realtor specific, like if I wanted to do a mail out.
If you wanted to tell them to listen to the podcast.
It's also super hard what I learned too, because they office addresses change all the time. When leases are, so it did become sort of a job to manage the office addresses, but I wrote down some stats.
Okay.
In the last 5 years.
Cannot wait to hear this.
I have closed 54 agent referrals.
In 5 years.
Yeah.
So about 10 a year.
Yeah. So 2019, I did 8, which was 8% of my business.
From any agent, though, we're not certain they're just from your office.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 2020, I did 15, which was 16% of my business. 2021, I did 15, which was 17% of my business. In 2022, I did 11, which was 14% of my business. 2023, I closed 5, which was 11% of my business. My transaction number.
So anywhere from 10 to
15 to
17% of your business. That's a lot.
I know.
It's a nice ad.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the ways you got them besides the top 30 trips, so we know you have relationships with those agents.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've also told me when you, just not webinars, you've also gone and taught classes at other offices.
Yes.
That are in Louisiana, but not in our market.
Correct.
Those people send them
to you. So I've been to Mandeville, Natchitoches. I just went to Houma, Thibodaux to speak at a brokerage that wasn't my company.
Right, but those people might send you something.
Yeah, I've already been in communication. See, after I teach a class or something, it's all of a sudden I get a few friend requests from people that were there. I get a few thank you notes from people just being like, hey, thanks so much for coming and sharing. Yeah. And then next thing you know, you start getting referrals.
Building relationships. Look at you.
Isn't it crazy?
Walking the walk.
Rocket science over here.
I remember, I don't know if it was you who told me this, but there was an agent, or I know several agents do this. They'll attend classes for their continuing education in markets that may send or they need to send a referral to. Mm-hmm. So I think from where we are, Houston makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I have clients that go in and out of Houston because of oil and gas industry, right? Houston, Lafayette, New Orleans. Other than that, I can't pick a city where I feel like it's a flow.
Right. It needs to make sense.
Those are the places where I can see myself sending a referral and also maybe even receiving one.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas is hard because Houston would be the most common for us.
Mm-hmm.
But one year, I think last 2 or 3 years ago, I referred out 3 different clients in 1 year to Texas, but all different cities. Austin, San Antonio, Houston. I'm so I'm not partnering with the same agent over and over again because they're different cities.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my point is it's really tough to target a specific, who knows?
Yeah, you don't know.
Where these people are coming from or going to.
So I think that we're going to get some listeners that say, well, I live in a really small town. Nobody's coming here for a plant or a college. And then you're kind of switching to letting your database know, did you know that if you are moving away, I can help you find an agent wherever you're going?
Yeah.
We have to educate the client on that. They don't realize that.
Yeah.
That's not their first thought. They're thinking they have to figure out who to use over there.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a bad idea to add to your email signature or add to the bottom of letters that you write. P.S. If you need an agent elsewhere, let me know and I will check my database and find you someone great.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about other ways to find the someone great. I think being involved in an online community of agents, so like a lot of agents join all sorts of referral groups and this and that. Also, just like our Hustle Humbly community, we now have a referral sheet you can go back and forth on. And people have sent a lot of referrals. It's great. You even are using it to find. Like if I needed someone in another market, I would start there, right?
Yeah.
Or like Modern Agents Social Club, they have a referral list. But like, where are the other agents that are like-minded to you? That's a really easy way to find one. Like back in the day, I would just go find a RE/MAX agent, right? Well, at least I know you partnered with the same broker. I know what to expect with that. But I still would have to sift through thousands of agents, right? There's a lot of RE/MAX agents. Then when I got my CRS designation, that's like a big what they advertise about CRS. They're like, get in CRS. We have this huge referral network. Literally, y'all, any real estate group you join or want to become a part of, they're going to tout referrals as a reason you want to join. And that can be true. So if like CRS, I know I had to take a lot of extra education and prove that I had done a lot of transactions. So it was a really quick way to filter out and get like the cream of the crop agents. However, they were typically really older veteran agents because it's a little harder to get your CRS. So if I wanted to send them a fun first-time home buyer,
may not be the best fit.
No, I know they would be very professional.
You'd have to filter properly to make sure they find someone that's their match.
And there was a couple other things I would, like when it was RE/MAX, if they didn't have a photo on their RE/MAX site, like, no, you're out. Like
you're out.
In CRS, you didn't have a photo, you're out. Like I need you at least, not because I'm picking you based on what you look like, but can you use the internet?
Right.
Like this is important. Does your picture look like you're fun? Like,
or is it a glamour shot?
Right. Like what's happening?
Our database template is the key to repeat and referral business, and it's free for you.
Your database is the foundation of successful business, and we want to help you get started.
Not sure who you would put on the list? Don't worry, we have ideas for you.
Grab your free database template and Who Do You Know list at hustlehumblypodcast.com/start here.
Okay, so online groups was one. Last week we had, or I think it was last week, our interview with Christine, who was, moving to a new market, and her first year business, I think, was more successful because she had attended these conferences associated with the coaching program she was in. Okay, so anywhere where you can meet other agents is always good.
I got a lot of referrals when I was serving on the board heavily. So I served on the Louisiana Realtors.
Yeah, so then you're outside of your market.
Yes, you're outside of your market. Again, I noticed that the people in leadership were the same people at every meeting. So I quickly developed relationships. I did Louisiana Realtor Leadership Program in 2015. We still have our Facebook group going strong and check on each other and send each other referrals. Things like that cost nothing.
Right.
I think I just had a friend call me and say she went to interview to do a B&I. And, she is trying to get her business going. She doesn't have a lot of spare marketing income. And she's like, this is how much it costs. Like, do you think it's worth it? And I'm like,
how much was it?
Not. Like thousands a year.
Thousands of dollars?
Yeah. Like,
so glad that you brought that up because B&I was in my notes. I said, just because someone is in your brokerage doesn't make them an automatic fit, right? And it reminds me of B&I. Just because you paid to be in the B&I group doesn't mean that plumber is the fit for you and your business and your life.
It's almost like if it's a paid thing, I want it less.
Right. I want to find the people that I want to work with.
That's what I love. We were actually talking about that in our realtor group for leadership, the LR group, because we were sending each other referrals all the time. But like they have brokerages in their market that are not my company.
Yeah.
And they were still calling me.
Right.
Same with me. We might have had a brokerage.
Because you know the person.
Yes.
You know the person. And B&I to me is just or like being restricted by anything. Oh, it has to be a Remax agent. It has to be this coaching client. No, like then you're just stuck with this is all I have to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to just choose from one of these things.
And last time we mentioned BNI, we did get an email where she said, please don't talk poorly about BNI.
It can work.
It can work.
But they're all different.
They're all very different. And so before you pay for anything,
right.
That's what we're trying to get at. It's not about BNI.
They also don't suit my personality because I don't like being told what to do. I just don't want you to tell me that I have to show up and do these things.
Right.
Like it's not me. It's just not good. But I think my vendor list is my BNI.
Yeah.
I have collected up people who I would like to refer, whatever. That's just a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Some other places you can get your agent to agent referral. What about social media, YouTube channel, anything where
you're probably way better at that than me.
Well, and I'm not like
you make online friends.
Sure. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Like I haven't, like I will friend people that I meet at these conferences I go to.
Yeah, I like that.
But other than that, like you're better at just starting up a conversation with someone.
We've also received referrals due to the podcast.
Yeah.
Not at all the intention of the show, but it makes sense if someone's like, well, these are the two agents that I know in Baton Rouge.
We're two agents in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I mean, like, this is where we are.
Yeah.
I think joining any niche type of group, like if you're, we have a listener who has created a moving medicine group, and they're all realtors who are wives of doctors.
Oh.
And they move around a lot. And so they have kind of built their own referral network, right?
That's cool.
Very niche, very cool. In community, we have a military referral spreadsheet. Like, do you serve a military area? Here's where you can find, because those people are moving around into those places, right? So it's easier to find where your people are coming from. I think anywhere that you meet people and you're making a connection with them is going to be a good place to get a referral from.
Yeah. It's very organic.
Very.
Again, it's another thing that my evolution of referrals is 10 years in the making.
Yeah. Can I tell you the story of a referral I got?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was still at my Remax office, I'm a big user of social media. You just mentioned it. In 2019, an agent from a New Orleans office called my broker. Okay. So she was very strong personality, love her. She calls my broker and says, hey, I need an agent who knows how to make video and use social media because I have a house in your market that I need to have sold, and that is what I want. And my broker was like, here, Katy, take this. Like, this lady is really about social media. You just need to take this. So that's how I got the referral. It worked out great. She worked me hard because she was like, well, why don't you have a video today? She micromanaged because she was an owner agent.
Oh.
Follow me.
Did I tour this house?
Yes.
Yeah.
You did.
I remember.
And I sold it. I did sell it. And don't you know, she then sent another agent in her office who was trying to serve our area, but then had like a health issue or something and just couldn't make it here. And she was like, hey, do you know anyone in Baton Rouge? She's like, yeah, you need Katy to do it. So I got another referral from another agent. It wasn't even from her, but she like sent her my way. So that was a fun one. Mm-hmm. But she called the office and was like, and I think you've told this story before too. Like someone called Connie and was like, who does this?
Yes.
And you're like, oh, you need Alissa.
Right.
So being known for something in your office also is important.
I will also say Connie has said before, like when I was brand new also and Connie would send me stuff, I'd be like, Connie, why'd you send this to me? And she was like, you were in the office when I got the call.
I got some like that too.
You're working.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to call who's working, who I see.
I got some referrals from my first office that was small. One of the agents there ended up not staying an agent. She would send me every couple of years. She would send a referral, not to be paid because she never licensed anymore. I think the first one she still did and I could pay her, but then she stopped practicing and was not active. So it was just technically a regular referral, not an agent to agent referral, but it started that way.
Now, I have gotten referrals from agents that are in our market that are maybe getting out of real estate,
Makes sense.
but have their license just on the hold status and can still receive a referral.
Yeah.
I know I've shared before about Fancy Nancy Wilkinson.
Oh, yeah. I love the
Nancy.
stories of
She's
Fancy
like-
Nancy.
Nancy was just like the coolest lady. So she worked so hard. Even though her health was declining, she had a few clients she tried to send me that they were like, Nancy, we just want you there. So even if she comes with us, she can come up the stairs with us and you can wait downstairs. Like when, depending on what your health reason is, like her clients were so loyal to her that when she got sick, she was just like, can you help me? And I was just splitting everything with her because I was like, you're so sweet and I love you. And we became dear friends. I went to her funeral and they had a huge party after at her daughter's house.
Did you know a bunch of people there?
So many.
Right.
It was like I was the family realtor.
Right.
I had one lady in particular who was a hot mess in the best way. She was hilarious. She's like a free spirit, like hippie. Like I loved being around her because I'm like, I wish I could be a little bit like that, but I'm not. So anyway, I helped her a few times with Nancy. Nancy passed away. She calls me and she's like, I'm at her house doing the listing appointment on the house that she bought with me and Nancy. And she gets like emotional. She's like, just having you here, like, just makes me miss Nancy. She was like, Nancy was there for me decades ago when I had to buy a house after my divorce.
Right.
And I was a wreck. And, Nancy basically picked me up and said, listen, sweetie, a man's left me before and I made it just fine. You're going to be just fine. Like, she was like, Nancy, like, made me a strong woman. Oh,
I love that.
So she's like, I said, well, I think Nancy would be super happy to see us here together. And so it's like the Nancy referrals like continue to this day. And she passed away a few years ago. But people call me because I was Nancy's friend.
Right. That's sweet.
And it's like agents retire.
All the time.
The busy agents in your office may need help. I had an agent in our office refer me a $1.6 million listing because it was 25 minutes from her house.
Too far.
Not only was it was in our market.
Yeah, she's like, no thanks.
But she doesn't need it.
I also think she was like, this client isn't going to be easy.
He was not easy. It was not easy.
She's like, you know what? I'll take 25% of this and let it be your problem.
Yep. And no, she didn't take anything. She wouldn't let me pay her. That's why I made her cups.
Oh, sweet precious.
She would not let me
She was like,
pay
just
her.
Thanks for me not having to do this.
Yeah. She has sent me a few things. Never would take a referral fee.
I love that.
And I'm like, you are just amazing.
That is pretty nice. We did receive a listener message in reference to this topic.
Okay.
And she was trying to niche down to the market that she knew best and was trying to build a system for referring clients to other agents that can serve them better. So I think we've answered her questions, but I guess what I'd also like to say is I don't know that I'll spend too much time on this unless you have a real logistical plan and you have seen that statistically there is a flow of people coming into your market from certain places. I think it could be a bit of one of those things where you feel like you're busy.
Yeah.
But you're not actually like making traction with it.
Well, when I started writing letters, before I was like super slammed, and then I started getting the referrals, but then I was getting repeat business.
Yeah.
And so the agent referrals, here's how I don't care what people say. This is a business.
Yeah.
And I look at everything in terms of, is this a wise business decision? Is it wise for me to take 3 hours of my day to go to St. Francisville when the price point is $80 and I have to be here when I have an expert there?
Yeah.
It was nothing. I'm not too good for that price point, but it was a business decision.
Right.
And my client was better served by the referral.
Right.
So I got to a point where I'm like, look, there was like 2 or 3 years where I skipped writing letters between 2015 and 2024 because depending on where I was in my business, I was like, I'm really busy right now.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to solicit agent referrals.
Because then you're also giving away a piece of the money.
Because this business, this piece of the pie is a quarter less
It
income.
would just be like working reloads as a rule. You're getting 40% less.
Right. So it's almost like evaluate your business.
Yeah.
If it's easy to form natural relationships, 100% do that. But if you're trying to make a plan, you need to make sure that it makes sense.
For sure.
Because it is going to be less money than a typical repeat client or a referral from a past client. We don't pay our clients referral fees. So make sure the numbers are making sense for you and that it's a good place to spend your effort.
That makes sense. And I agree. You have to think it through.
So we have step one. You know someone who has a real estate need in a market you don't serve.
Step one is also making sure that the people around you know that this is an option. I can help you find an agent.
Pre-step one.
Pre-one. Do people even know that you can do this?
Know. Okay. Step two, find an agent in that area.
Yes.
Okay. Step three.
Vet agent in area. Find and vet.
Find.
Please, you must
vet. Okay. Step three, send referral form.
Please send the forms.
W-9.
You have to send the form. Can you tell the story?
A little bit of etiquette, okay? This form, nothing irritates me more than when a person reaches out to me. I've done the listing interview. It's on the market. And somebody calls me and says, hey, I'm actually an agent in Florida and you have my cousin's house listed for sale. Will you send me a referral fee? I told them about you.
Like, what?
Yeah, I'm like, I've been working with this client.
It's happened to me too.
And they've never mentioned you.
That's why it's not to me, it's not a real referral if you didn't gatekeep the info.
Correct.
Do you see what I'm saying? If someone showed up to me and starts working with me, just like you're describing, and then you show up and are like, that's my referral to you. I'm like, but you didn't even tell me
I didn't even know where this came from.
That's not how it works.
And I think that's where the nickel and diming, the scarcity mindset, a little bit of greed, a little bit of entitlement comes
but don't
in.
you then just pay them?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get in a fight, right?
Yeah. I've had this happen 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. And I went to Connie and she's like, Alissa, you're not hurting. Is it gonna...
Just like...
Yeah. Connie's very, diplomatic. Keep the peace and don't burn the bridge.
She's an Enneagram 9, I'm sure.
Yeah. So it's like... I would do it. I did it a few times, but it left a very bad taste in my mouth. And I will tell you, that's not an agent I'll ever send a referral to.
Right.
Because if that's how you were just, it also makes me think you must be struggling financially because.
I mean, and look, that is what it is.
Yeah. But like just the way these are the steps.
These are the steps. So you send the form.
Is not list the house. And then find out that you know a person selling a house somewhere else. And even if you had every intention of referring them out, if they didn't find that agent because you introduced them to each other,
it's not really a referral.
It's not really a referral.
Agree. It's not really a referral.
Yeah. My own sister, was living in Texas and they thought it was just going to be for a short time. She was a nurse there. Her husband was working there. They didn't end up buying anything. But for a minute, unbeknownst to the family, at first, they were like, maybe we should look into buying something.
Okay.
Through living there, they just knew this agent there. Mm-hmm. So the agent was showing them houses. Well, then my sister came and told the family hey, I think we're going to maybe look at buying something since it looks like we're going to be here longer than we thought. And I was like, oh, well, if you need a referral, let me know. And she was like, oh, well, we actually knew somebody already. I'm not calling that agent.
No, it's not right.
And people are like, but it's my sister. It's my daughter. I'm like, and then I pay, but I'm like, I hear you, but that was my sister, but I did not do anything.
And you didn't find the agent.
No.
What you're supposed to be being paid for is finding the agent.
And vetting and doing the checking.
If you don't do that, you truly are just asking someone to pay you from the money that they earned working.
Yeah. So just check your mindset. Okay. And remember that how you treat other agents.
Karma is going to bring it back around.
Yes. Yes. And so there's definitely some poor etiquette that we have seen in agent to agent referrals.
Yeah.
And just be mindful of how you are treating those people and what you're feeling entitled to. You know what else I did that was hugely successful?
Oh, please tell us.
I got a referral from an agent. Where did she come from? She wasn't in my office and she wasn't a podcast listener.
Okay.
I think that she was an agent in another market and her brother was selling his house here.
Okay.
And another agent was like, I know an agent there.
Oh.
So I really owed this other agent something. But anyways.
We don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was just like a random realtor referral.
Okay.
So I'm helping her brother. She's like, look, this is my brother. So, I'm just like big sister over here. Like, let me know if you need help with anything or if you're having any trouble, like just call me and we can, I'm like, okay, I appreciate it. So every time I emailed him, I blind copied her.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, first of all, the pre-listing email.
All
she's
your
like,
email templates. She's
I
like,
used
what
all
is
the,
this?
No, she was, that's how I knew she wasn't a podcast listener because she was like, the way you run your business is amazing. She was like, this is so good. And she was like, these emails are so simple and informative and like not too much. And when I sent I let her know we were under contract by copying her on the, your house is pending, now what?
The best
email.
one.
And she's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm so excited. He called and told me they had an offer and that they were negotiating.
Alyssa's like, no need for me to send you a referral fee. I'm giving you all the free email templates.
Yeah, right? Just on the seller side.
Oh, it's hilarious.
But she was just like so impressed with everything and how it was, very well run. So it's like if you wanted to keep the other agent informed of how it's going, you could periodically just blind copy them on an email.
That's smart.
And then they know.
They like to know. I do like to let them know when we're under contract. I think that's an important step in the process.
Well, it is live email. She was so excited about that email. She was like, this email's great. I might have to steal it. Haha. And I was like, well, I actually have this podcast and we have templates, but it's fine. Not a big deal. I kind of feel that way about agents in our market.
Right.
But
it's so funny.
But it's different because there's only a few of the templates that go to other agents.
Right.
But I've had people be like, wow, I love this email. May have to steal it. Haha, it's so well written. I'm like, it's part of a package.
You can buy it if you want. Do you want to tell the story of you just told me this a couple of days ago, I feel like. You got a referral, but how did you get them?
Connie called me one day.
That's okay.
And was like, hey, I just got a call from a lady who her daughter has her house on the market here. It's not selling.
Okay.
It's expiring and she has a friend in Florida who said, just find a brokerage, the same brokerage.
Okay.
So I was in that brokerage. So her friend said, find a Compass agent.
Yeah, like just say it. We know you're at Compass.
I know. So
it's not a secret.
So the lady calls Connie and is like, I have a Compass friend in Florida who said, well, I obviously was not a part of that conversation.
No.
So Connie called me and was like, hey, Alissa, I'm about to send you an email with this lady's information. She wants to talk to you about her daughter, I'm like, okay, great. So I never heard really where it came from.
Right. No clue.
So I do this huge staging consult because I'm like, one, I'm the second agent.
Yeah, I gotta
fix
work
things up.
Okay,
we got to make sure this sells. And the client was wonderful. She did everything I asked her to do. She was so appreciative of suggestions. It was like, my previous agent didn't give me any suggestions, So we sell fairly quickly, even though it had been on the market 6 months, we sell it. And it comes time to close and we close.
Okay.
And I'm filling out our required contract information sheet.
You're like, wait.
And I went, and the question on there is a referral fee owed? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I never signed anything.
How did you find out who the actual originating agent was?
So Connie was out of the country.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know what to do because I don't actually know who referred this. I haven't heard from anybody. I haven't signed a form.
Right.
So I messaged my client's mother
Because she's the one.
Yeah.
She wasn't an agent.
I talked to her no, she was not an agent.
Okay.
And she was the one who called me to be like, my daughter's house needs to sell. She used a friend. It's not going well.
Oh, she's the mom called Connie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like this huge, like,
so you found mom.
It was like 3 degrees of separation.
Okay, you found the mom.
And I called mom and was like, hey, I know we closed today. She's like, yes, thank you so much. I said, yeah, well, look, I believe in the beginning, my broker mentioned this might have been a referral. And she was like, oh, yeah, my friend told me to find a Compass agent. Not me specifically, just
any Compass agent will do.
Any Compass agent will do. So I was like, okay, can you send me her name? So she like gave me her name and I like do all this research and I'm like calling. I'm like, are you the person? Like, but in the meantime, I had just filled out the form and put like 20%. Like
after you found her name.
After I found her name and information, I just put 20%. I've never signed anything.
Because I guess, do you not need a W-9 since it's Compass?
I don't know.
Okay,
I just told the company, like, this is the address, this is who it goes to, whatever.
They figured it out.
Well, then I filled out the form, sent it to our office to close out the transaction.
Yeah.
Then the office is like, we need W-9. So yeah, they needed it.
Okay.
So I messaged her and said, hey, you don't know me. My name's Alissa. I was actually...
You don't even know me.
I was actually helping Miss So-and-so with the sale of her daughter's home.
Right.
And we closed.
Good news, I just sent you 20%.
Yeah, I said, we just closed yesterday. And I just wanted to say, like, thanks for sending her this way. Is this the correct address that the check needs to go to? And can you send me a W-9? Immediately my phone rings. And I'm like, it's her. I don't have the number saved. I've never spoken to her. I actually couldn't answer.
She doesn't know you.
No, I actually could not answer because I was in showings.
Okay.
So then I get an email, because that's what my voicemail says.
Please email me.
If you're a realtor or a title company, email me. So she emails me and she's like, thank you so much. I have been following every step of the transaction through the mother.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, you didn't want to introduce yourself to me or be like, here's a referral form. So like the next day, she's like, hey, yeah, here's my W-9. And yes, that office address is correct. So I'm like, great. Wonderful. The next day. So now closing has been done. The check has been mailed, probably hasn't arrived yet.
Right.
She's like, oh, hey, a little more paperwork. Can you sign this referral form? Please note, step 3, send referral form.
Back in the beginning.
Prior
to working with the client.
Prior to me speaking to the client, prior to any of this, okay? So I'm like, it says like 25, and I'm just like, hey, like, listen, I was sort of flying blind on this one. I didn't even realize.
Because again, you don't know me.
I wasn't.
We've had no communications.
Really sure where, none.
I didn't know what to do.
I didn't even know her name.
Right.
Even in the beginning, the mom did not say.
So-and-so sent me.
No.
Right. Okay, go on.
And it was like, well.
You were like, I already sent a check.
Yeah. And she was aggravated. And then I was aggravated because I'm like, this is the petty. But I said, listen. So I said, listen, I already sent it. You know, I was flying blind here. I had no idea there was somebody else like monitoring anything if she was, you know.
Well, either way.
So I'm like, I said 20%. I forget what I said in the email, but I didn't. I said, if you want to send a revised one, I'll sign it. Well, then she got even more me. So I finally said, listen, I don't want to hurt any relationships. I was flying very blind in this transaction with where it came from. I had no idea that you were the referring agent, hence why I sent 20%, which I thought was generous. But in the sake of not burning bridges and not hurting relationships, I'm happy to mail you a check for 5%. Attitude changed immediately. No. Don't even worry about it. You can just change the percentage on the form I sent you and initial it and da-da. I was like, okay, thank you. But I just was like, I don't know. The steps are you send them.
It's like this is a very do unto others as you'd have them do to you situation.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing referrals, y'all, how would you feel? Like it is a business, but how would you feel if someone came to you when you were at the closing table and be like, oh, by the way, that was my aunt and you have to give me a referral?
Right. It's not fun.
You'd be like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And this just furthers my point that I feel like 25, even 20 can feel like a lot.
It is a lot.
Because the real blood, sweat, and tears came from the agent that was working with the client.
Yeah.
And although I do believe referring has a place because vetting and finding an agent is important.
And valuable.
But I don't know that value is appropriately assigned at this point in time.
Right.
Right?
Like, why is it automatically 25 if I've never...
I don't even know the birth of this. Like, who came up with this number?
It's a big number.
But I find that in real estate, just like with the settlement and the lawsuit and all, we don't a lot of times stop and say, does this make sense?
Right.
Does this practice make sense?
Well, Katie, it's how it always has been done.
And I want my 25 because why not?
Yeah.
Someone's going to give it to me. I'm going to take it. And I'm going to say, y'all, I have gotten many of 25% referral to me. Well, I mean, not many, the 10 that I've gotten in 19 years.
Yeah.
But I didn't say, oh, no, I can't take your 25%. Right.
Right.
But at the same time, it's okay for us to stop and say,
that's a lot.
Perhaps that's a lot for finding and vetting an agent and then sending along a client that you will never again have to do
Show
anything
houses
with.
To stage their home.
And it's okay for us to all say together, what makes sense?
What makes sense on this particular transaction?
Right.
When it was an $80,000 condo in St. Francisville, it did not make sense for me to take money from that agent.
No.
And
people would be like, I'll send someone a referral for a rental. And I'm like, they're like, well, what do you want me to pay you? Nothing. Just please help these people.
Yeah.
I don't want $50. Right. You know, like, thank you. That's sweet. And I'm not too good for $50. I'm happy to take $50. But if I do the work, I'm like,
don't worry about it. Sometimes I'm like, look, just send me a referral back one day.
Yes. The karma. Just give me the good karma.
Give me the good karma back. Okay, one more funny story.
Okay.
So when I became an agent, my dad's an appraiser. So he's technically like a licensed agent, but he's never sold a house.
Okay.
He just does appraisals. But when he had friends or somebody that was looking for an agent, he did have a few agents that he would refer things to. And they would pay him you can pay a referral fee because he's licensed. So the first in my early years, my dad's friend is like, yeah, I need to sell this house, da-da-da. He's like, awesome, call Alissa. My dad's like, hey, so-and-so is going to call you.
Did your dad take referral fees?
I have paid him so many referral fees.
I love it.
I'm like, Dad, he's like, yeah, I mean, if I wasn't sending it to you, I'd be getting paid.
He makes a valid point there.
And I actually secretly love paying him referrals.
Like, okay, here you go, Dad.
And it's funny because my mom still does my bookkeeping.
Right.
She's a CPA. And so she's
like, thanks for buying groceries this month.
She's like, I'm like, have fun on your scuba trip. But every time we get like a pay stub that shows the breakdown of everything, taxes and, referrals and whatever. So my mom has like a spreadsheet where she just tracks everything for me because she's the numbers person. And I'm like, here's a referral to Johnny. She's just like, awesome,
thanks. Times two.
Thanks times two. But it's just funny because it's like,
but
I secretly love it.
But he made a good point. If he hadn't sent it to you, he'd have gotten paid to send it to someone else.
He would send it to the people that he had a relationship with before his daughter was. And in a way, it made me go, because I'm over here saying, Dad, I want to be treated like a professional.
Yeah, well,
I want to be treated with respect. He's like, awesome, 25%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well,
thanks.
Hold on.
Thanks.
But I can't tell. I would actually need to go back and see how many referrals I've paid to my dad over the year.
I would love to know.
And it's so funny because I love filling out the referral form when it's going to him because his office address is the house I grew up in. Like, my parents have never moved. I was born and I've lived in that house my whole life. They're still there. So I'm like, just writing in my old address.
So cute.
So funny.
I love it. Precious. Anything else on referrals?
This was good.
So great.
And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I also think agent to agent referrals, it's like, it is the epitome of community over competition.
100%.
Like, you must treat each other kindly, guys. We're in this together.
Wait, can I tell you one more story before we go? Okay, so I don't know how I found her, but I follow this girl on Instagram. She is an agent. I think at some point she was also a mortgage broker, maybe, but she is an agent, and she made all of these reels, a bajillion trillion. She's very good. She made all of this informational. I can't remember her, like how to spell her name. I think it's like a funny spelling. Anyway, she made all these reels about how to buy houses. So she was getting all these buyers from all over the internet, not just in her local market. And then she started referring them out to other realtors. Then she started basically, as far as I can understand, she no longer even sells real estate. She simply teaches buyers how the process works, and then now has this referral network of agents that she can vet and put on her list, and she'll partner you up with the agent that's right for you and get a referral fee, and that's literally her business.
That's amazing.
The whole thing. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, you can make it very...
If that was but she was, of course, teaching those clients, then vetting those agents, then
she was earning it.
Yes. But I thought that was a really interesting usage of the referral system.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people will be like, I'm going to take a sabbatical for a year.
Right.
And I'm just going to refer out all my business or go on a month-long vacation, but I won't lose all the money. I'm going to refer them out and I'll make a little percentage.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. I like a referral. Okay. Anything else?
That's all.
That's great. Let's listen to a toast.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, bye.
This is Jessica Lay from Prineville, Oregon, and I am toasting my bestie, Trista Schrader, over in Coquille, Oregon. Just wanted to thank her for being the most wonderful best friend that I can always bounce my ideas and frustrations. And when I'm so annoyed, she just picks me up and always encourages me. Love you, girl.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to ratethispodcast.com/hustlehumbly and leave us a review or drop a comment if you're listening on Spotify.
If you have an episode topic or someone you'd like to toast on the show, please email us at team@hustlehumblypodcast.com.
Find us on social media at Hustle Humbly Podcast. Don't forget to find all of the free resources at hustlehumblypodcast.com/resources.
See you next week.